This I want to be the figure to be the main point and the main subject.
Willibald de Cabrera says his specialty is painting the human figure.
There's much to say in a person, and so I want to capture a lot of that.
He does paint a lot of pretty women, but his favorite painting is the one he did of his father.
And when I was painting this portrait, I was actually crying a lot of the times, and it was hard for me because all my childhood came back, things that he used to say to me, you know.
His mother died when he was just 6 years old and left his father to raise 7 children.
He was hard on his teachings, but he was a great example of how a man should be.
For a while he went to live with a neighbor lady, and that's where he discovered his aptitude and his love for art.
She had these pages with Jesus and the apostles, and I would turn them around and just trace the figures on the back, and I got hooked from there.
One day he told his father he wanted to be a painter. His father thought he meant sign painting.
Yeah, that was my dad's idea of art. That was what my dad thought being an artist was, to paint the letters on the sides of the truck. And
he came to El Paso to learn English, and he's beginning to make a name for himself. He sells most of what he paints, and he is getting commissions. This drawing of Ernest Hemingway is the beginning of what turned into a series for an El Paso bar. 2 of his largest portraits are here in Hemingway's bar in Kern Place. They're 2 large acrylic paintings of Ernest Hemingway. They almost look like photographs. And outside, another of Papa Hemingway. It's in the smoking area. He's not always satisfied with his work. Sometimes he turns those paintings he doesn't like into something else. A life-size nude became 2 abstract paintings.
This is upper half and lower half.
His art is also at Las Palmas Hospital. He put himself in this painting in the hospital's PR office, and in the stairwell, his rendition of Michelangelo's creation of Adam. The real one is on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. But the one closest to his heart is still of the subject he knows best, the man who raised him.
But my dad is one of those guys that deserves that recognition.
Paleontologists and volunteers are slapping plaster-soaked burlap on what's left of what they call one of the weird and wonderful critters that lived here 2 million years ago.
They couldn't have outrun a tortoise.
And they were big. They estimate this one was 4 feet wide, 5 feet long, and 3 feet tall. It's an ancestor of the armadillo. They call it a glyptodont. Here's an artist's rendition of what it looked like.
They wouldn't have lived in the mountains. They were very slow. They weren't very agile, so low grassland areas.
This was probably one of the earliest glyptodonts in this region. They originated in South America when North and South America connected more than 2 million years ago. They started their migration to the north, and they lived at the same time as other huge mammals like the mammoth. The glyptodont could not live in this environment today. It's much too dry. When this one was alive 2 million years ago, this area was a lot wetter. There was a lot more vegetation, so there was plenty for it to eat. Scientists believe this area was probably subtropical then, with temperatures never falling below 0. The glyptodonts were probably grazers, built low to the ground, eating grass and other plants. Their armadillo-like shell offered some protection. About half to 2/3 of that shell is all that's left of this one.
And that's sort of the edge of the shell right there.
They also have a helmet-like shell protecting the top of the head. They haven't found that yet. Here's where the head was. The man who found it has been hunting fossils for a long time. Paul Seeley was walking with a colleague here to show something that he had found, and he looked up this rise and he saw something else that was really interesting.
I looked up here and I could see the edge of the shell, the glyptodont shell.
It's one of his favorite ancient animals here, and this is one of the best ones found so far in the borderland. The plaster will protect it while it's packed up and moved to Albuquerque, where one day it'll be on display. From the outside, it looks like an old miner's cabin, and well, that's just about what it is. These are the old miners, Christopher Blackwell and Paul Colburn.
We're kind of a rough and ready place. I mean, if the person's looking for polished linoleum floors, expensive fixtures, and snooty people, I'm afraid we don't fit.
What they do have is the Geolapidary Museum Rock Shop. Geo from geology, it's combined with the word lapidary. That's a person who cuts and polishes precious stones. They do that and a lot more here.
We've even built the equipment for doing the cutting and polishing.
What they cut and polish are thunder eggs. A thunder egg is a glob of molten rock that has cooled over the centuries and hardened, and this part of New Mexico is full of them.
Because the Baker egg mine thunder eggs are the best agate nodules of any type in the world.
The legend says angry gods threw these thunder eggs at each other. Colbert and Blackwell mine their thunder eggs from their mine near the Mexican border. They bring them here and convert them to these, jewels from the earth. When you cut a thunder egg in two, that's when you find the beauty.
That's the fastest thaw in the West. I'm going to take that out and track it.
Over the years, he estimates he's cut open and polished about 500,000 thunder eggs. So you have a real passion for thunder eggs?
Absolutely. They're really collectible.
Paul Colburn was just 12 years old when he fell in love with thunder eggs. He got his first one in a trade with a friend. In the last 53 years, he has learned enough geology to become an expert.
You see the levels in there are like a pie shape? That's because that mountain, if you look out there, it's tilted.
Yeah.
There was a landslide that occurred while that was being filled.
Colburn and Blackwell got together more than 30 years ago and decided to come to New Mexico because that's where they found the best thunder eggs. For about 12 years, they lived and mined and refined and sold their thunder eggs out of an old Volkswagen bus. What's left of it is still parked out back. But their cabin is the center of activity now. It, too, is a tribute to ingenuity and self-sufficiency, from the solar panel to the counterweight that keeps the door closed.
But we're on a low budget. What did you say?
And their fascination with thunder eggs has only increased. Blackwell spends much of his time now as a shopkeeper, but Paul is busy writing his book on geology, and its central theme is thunder eggs.
Everybody likes a dinosaur, so.
A few weeks ago, Joe DiBenedetto came out here to see a few dinosaur prints that some of his colleagues had found, but he found something better.
I was really excited because I had not expected to see a trackway. I was expecting to see a couple individual tracks, and then
he found a whole series of tracks, probably a group of dinosaurs walking across a beach.
Okay, what I'll try to do is take you around the front of the foot. These are toes here. As you can see, these are the claws.
Most of the tracks he's found so far belong to an animal like the big one in this picture, a sauropod, a long-necked, four-legged dinosaur a little smaller than a brontosaurus. It was around 9 feet tall at the hip.
So this is the front end of the critter.
He's also found tracks from the other animal in this picture. It's a carnivore called an Acrocanthosaurus. They and other dinosaurs apparently pass through here very often.
Dinosaurs churning up the sediments, and nothing but footprints.
More than 97 million years ago, when the dinosaurs walked here, this area looked a lot different. In fact, what is now hard rock was soft, wet sand when the dinosaurs left their footprints.
This is everybody's dream. This is beachfront real estate.
There was a huge sea here. He says the area was likely something like today's barrier islands off the Texas Gulf Coast.
I've walked right by these.
Geologist Anthony Faig has been to this site plenty of times and he never saw the prints. They both hope the site will be preserved, and that's why they don't want to tell anybody where it is just yet.
This dinosaur trackway really represents a scientific treasure, not only for the field of paleontology, but also for education in general. And
it's a really, really unique site. Not only it's a sightseer's event, it's scientifically important, and it's just cool.
DiBenedetto will study and measure the prints and search for whatever else he can find, so he can help us all better understand what was here long before humans stepped into the borderland.
30 cents. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Thank you. Enjoy your candy bar.
For 10 years, Sunday McDonald has been waiting on customers at Boland's Continental Divide Trading Post, but the store's been here a lot longer. It's more than 50 years old, the oldest of the well-known Boland's Trading Post in southern New Mexico.
Oh, our little store has just a little aura all of its own.
It's a place where you can buy things you probably didn't know you could buy anymore. For instance, where else can you get a bullwhip?
Because it looked unique. We thought it looked different. It said Trading Post, so we decided to stop. And actually, we're looking for cactus candy.
Did you find any?
Not yet. I haven't had time to look.
Okay.
Kay Fortner of Colorado Springs stopped in with her husband and grandson. Drake's 4 years old, and he's already found a cowboy hat and a pig in a basket to take home with him. The store is a throwback to the old Route 66 days, with every kind of southwestern kitsch you can think of. There are dead rattlesnakes, even bags of politicians' hot air.
Come on, Dad, it's my turn to run the country. Now open this bag, please.
Alongside Sunday is fellow worker Tom McQuaid, who got something of a twin in the store recently. They named the new guy Tomas.
When they brought Tomas in a few months ago, they say they felt like somebody was staring at them all the time. So they fixed the problem by getting him a pair of sunglasses.
One of the long-time Trading Post traditions is here on the counter. One time several years ago, someone left some foreign coins, and since then, those foreign coins have been glued down, and it's quite a collection.
I like the old wooden floors that creak when you walk on them. It's just different. It's old. It's different.
Kay Fortner found the cactus candy she was looking for, and Drake found a pair of cowboy toy pistols. Now, that's something else Kay says she can't find in any store anymore.
Bye. Okay.
Have fun with the gun. Bye.
This is Charlie. This is me. Actually, this is me.
Carlos Vigueras is treating his neighborhood to a part of their culture. Out front of his house and the house next door is a Day of the Dead display that includes most everything one would expect.
Mexicans with the mariachis and everything. This is a part of the celebration with music. Tamales, chiles, and tunas. This is part of the fruits. The best Mexican food. Cigarettes, drinks, everything that they like it is here.
The Day of the Dead evolved from ancient Aztec practices that were co-opted by the church and then placed on the Christian calendar to correspond with All Saints' Day. It's when the Mexican people remember their dead loved ones, not by grieving, but by celebrating.
The Day of the Dead, El Día de los Muertos, is a special day for the Mexican culture because that represents a communication between life and death.
To those who don't understand, all these skulls and skeletons may seem morbid or macabre, but you have to understand it.
The humor of what happened with you go to the other world, you know.
Mm-hmm. Humor is a big part of Dia de los Muertos. And part of it is serious. Carlos has placed memorials to the hundreds of women who've been killed in Juarez, to the immigrants who've died trying to cross the border, and to those who've been killed because of the drug trade.
You could say the Day of the Dead is actually 2 days, November 1st for the kids, and that's what this part of the display represents. There are toys, cookies, and sweet candies for the children.
Neighbors stop by to look. Carlos says some have brought items to add to the display, and they appreciate it being here.
The population here, the neighborhood is almost 90% and of Mexican descent or Mexicans, and we believe that it's important to recover these celebrations.
And it is a celebration of Mexican culture with a little addition from north of the border. A walk into the museum is like walking back in time to a time when ancient peoples roamed the borderland.
Literally from 10,000 years ago when people were were eating mammoths to the Apaches who lived here just a few centuries ago.
This is the first scene you see when you come into this room. It shows how people lived from 600 to 800 years ago in the Southwest. Those people were the Pueblo people and the cliff dwellers.
And just across the aisle, Paleo-Indians from about 10,000 years ago, those who hunted some of the largest land mammals that ever lived. Continuing around, you see the archaic cultures, the pit house people, the cliff dwellers, and Indians such as the Sumos, the Mansos, and the Mescalero spirit dancers.
I think it's important that we all know our past, and since we all live in this area, we need to know where we came from. It's part of knowing our roots.
Part of understanding those roots is knowing that while the ancient people did not have modern technology, they did share many things with us today.
They played games, they raised their children, they farmed, they just lived their lives.
On the other side of the museum are artifacts from those lives, baskets, weapons, dolls, cradle boards, the tools and items that the ancient people used to bring variety, ease, and comfort to their lives. And in the back room is some of what visitors don't see, the collection.
In this row we have a lot of beadwork, various kinds of garments and bags and things.
David Kane is also part of the improvements. He's in charge of that collection, making sure that it's cataloged and taken care of. The pieces are fragile, and the new heating and cooling system will make sure that it's preserved.
They'll be here for our kids and grandkids to enjoy too.
But not everything is that fragile.
Here's a place you are allowed to touch the display. Here's a mortar and pestle to see how the ancient people pulverized their food, and a mato and metate to see how they did their grinding.
Many of the displays have been in the museum for years, but now with the improvements, a better paint job, better heating and cooling system, it's more people-friendly, so modern folks can see in comfort the lives of our ancestors.